Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email us, Team Mosso at the1916company.com for purchase pricing and availability questions concerning this watch. This watch is extraordinary. You often see a watch of this dimension and extrovert sensibility positioned towards the middle of the sports watch market at a certain price point for a certain taste for a certain level of finish. And what this watch does is it proves you can be both beauty and beast. You can have a Geneva hallmark manufacturer flying tourbillon movement that is also a chronometer inside a watch that's designed to absolutely drop jaws in terms of sheer presence and mass. In the hand, it feels like a battleship anchor, and on the wrist, it looks like a metal manacle from hell. A watch of white gold that's immensely broad at 57.1 millimeters across the wrist, 16.2 millimeters thick, and 45 millimeters in diameter. This is a watch that tells people to bugger off. This is a timepiece from Roger Dubuis, which in a lot of ways is sort of Richemont's answer to Richard Mille. Now, both of them have fans of their house styles, but what they both have in common is that they go high mech with their premier pieces. The difference is that Richard Mille is an établisseur buying its parts and assembling them under the brand name, and Dubuis is so integrated it even makes its own hairsprings. So this Excalibur skeleton flying tourbillon in white gold will be on my wrist to comical effect, as I simply don't have the persona or the wrist size to pull it off. I think your wrist needs to be 18 centimeters circumference to wear this well. It's comfortable, don't get me wrong, it's just very, very big. And it does feel heavy. If you believe a luxury watch should feel its price, this one does. And by the way, the original retail for this in 2012 was $139,000. So we are talking big boy money. The strap, like the lug pattern, is proprietary. Dubuis, partly for reasons of style, partly for reasons of stability and security, uses a triple lug system on these large watches. And you can see how the strap is immense. It's thick, it's bolstered, it has a folded edge, a monotone stitch, large rectangular symmetrical scale alligator leather, always a sign of a very high grade and expensive cut of the animal. We have a folding clasp here. You can see internally, it's kind of entertaining. There's a Roger Dubuis monogram inside. And then externally, once again, close it up. You can see that there's a twin trigger release system. So you press the triggers and it pops open. The clasp is white gold, just like the case, RD, as you'll note if you take a quick look at the case. And the clasp, like I said, a fully integrated manufacturer making parts of the watch that, for example, even many other integrated manufacturers do not build themselves. This was a 2012 limited edition of 88 pieces, so you're unlikely to see another one. I will also emphasize that there is a little spring bar with 3 sets of divots, and so you can actually use your strap tool to change the anchoring point of the strap inside of the buckle. And another interesting feature of these watches is that they are internally scored and designed to have their leather straps cut to length. So you can see this is a sizable and cuttable leather strap. A little bit unusual, but that's how these Dubuis straps work. So we will make sure you get the right size and the perfect fit. This is a fascinating modern day interpretation of the canteen crown. This is effectively skeuomorphic, so it looks like a crown, but what it actually is a cap that goes over the genuine crown. The idea here being to have a crown that is proportionally matched to the size of the case, the lugs, and the bezel, but then you open it up, and by the way, it's very finely hinged. The hinge feels expensive. We have the RD logo on the crown. It is a push-down crown. The watch is 50 meters water resistant. And now I can wind the watch, or I can set it. Pop that back in, close it all up. We have the serrated bezel that is the symbol of the Excalibur line. And of course, the idea is to envision the knights around the round table, each one at his station, each one with his sword drawn over the table. So the Excalibur is animated by the spirit of mythology. Some people ask me, what's the difference between the cross used on Roger Dubuis watches for the tourbillon and the cross used by Vacheron? The difference is this is a Celtic cross, which has 3 blades in most characterizations, whereas Vacheron uses a sort of Maltese cross, which is an entirely different lineage of beliefs and dogmas and geography, but it has 4 blades. That's the easy way to describe the difference. Taking a look, this is a rather deep dial. You can see there's a Reho outboard that's nickel anthracite with little individual indices in the form of hex screws that have been blackened, and then dot indices for the minutes. And it really does have lovely depth to it. Getting to the inner face, you can see that there's a spacer ring with engine turning and satination, and that it has been scalloped to make room for the tourbillon, which is a flying tourbillon. So you can see there's no upper bridge to block your view. It's a 3 Hertz beat rate, so 21,600 vibrations per hour. The flying tourbillon, invented in the 1920s by German watchmaker Alfred Hellwig, was a technical solution back in the day, but today it's primarily an aesthetic way of removing encumbrance to the easy viewing and appreciation of your tourbillon. You could see that this steel structure has been full black polished, including the stud holder. We have blackened and polished screws on the structure, and then you can see that the edges of the cage have been mirror beveled. It is very loud, as tourbillon regulators tend to be, which I find endearing. Take a look adjacent to the keyless works. You can see the Poisson de Genève since November 6th, 1886, the imprimatur of quality for a watch made in the city or canton of Geneva. You'll also appreciate the star-like motif that acts as the bridge for the barrel. In fact, you can see main plate and dial effectively all one. There's beveling to a high degree. You can see mirror bevels on the edges of these skeletonized elements. The Excalibur skeleton flying tourbillon, living up to its name on both sides, and then engine turning across the bridges, which I really like. The hands are sort of a modified Dauphine. You can see that they are half frosted so that they show better against this dial base. They give you good contrast. And then you have all the steel elements of the keyless work. You've got the clutch, you've got the clutch spring, you've got the setting lever, you've got the crown wheel, you've got the winding pinion. And because this is Geneva hallmark, you can see all those elements are beautifully decorated, beveled on their sides, satinated on their top. You can see the motion works in action. You can see the minute wheel and the minute wheel pinion driving the hour wheel. Underneath the hour wheel, the cannon pinion, which is driven by the minute wheel when you're setting the watch. You can see the action of the keyless works. It is beautiful and precise. There's a manual winder, 19 joules, very large. This chronometer certified movement is COSC certified, 37.15 millimeters in diameter, so it properly fills this huge case. You could see the reverse, including the drivetrain for the tourbillon from the bottom side. Screw heads are polished. You can see that the barrel is open, so you can see the mainspring coiling inside. Now, the watch comes with extensive documentation. Many chronometers are simply certified chronometers and noted as such on the dial or the case back. But what we have right here is a watch that comes with the long-form chronometer timing card, so you can see the degree by which it exceeded the timing standards of the COSC. You can see recesses with polished and satin on the back. Really, you can see, take a good look, that's media blast satin, and then we have the brushed variety in profile. The case does not feature stepped lugs, but it is not a perfectly blended lug profile. There's a little bit of a muscular swell to it, and then polished top the lug hoods. A very, very cool watch. 60 hours of reserve is impressive, given the fact that we do have just the one mainspring barrel, and these tourbillon regulators are very power intensive. A very cool watch. So if you love this watch, a 2012 limited edition of 88 pieces, reach out to Team Mosso at the 1916company.com for purchase and pricing details.